So welcome back, guys. We have the Align Podcast, episode 12 here. Today we have a very special guest, Jen Schiff, who came all the way up from Baltimore. And for those of you that don't know, she runs everything behind the scenes with, I would say, my whole life from a work standpoint. So really happy to have Jen here. And what I wanted to do is take some time to interview you and how you became our team psychiatrist over the years and psychologist or whatever, but psych ward manager. But no, just go back. I mean, bring us back to like what got Jen into the world of real estate and then kind of how we came to be.
Sure. Okay. Well, originally what got me into the world of real estate is I had in 2010 started to dabble with my husband at the time, and we were looking at what it would be like to get me into the real estate business. I was very hesitant. I didn't want to do it. I loved my freedom. I didn't like anything that he was doing because it looked like a lot of problems. But then finally, it was actually KW and a family reunion that I attended. And I saw that there was a business model for real estate. And I saw that if I followed something, I could succeed. And I said, let's do this. So we started in 2011, launched a real estate team in the Baltimore metro area. The team still exists today. We average about 300 units a year, do just under 100 million. And from that point, we just doubled and doubled. We became number one in the market. And then it got a little lonely and boring. So during that time, we were really working with a lot of investors. We had built our investment portfolio. We had launched a staging business. We had a development company. But just the transactional side of real estate, doing it alone was not as fun as I wanted it to be. So at that point, I had led myself into the partnership with Seth Campbell, which brought me to working inside of Five Doors, which was one of the inaugural expansion businesses in the real estate industry. At that time, it was number 3 in the country. And so I came into that role and took on VP of Ops. And for 2.5 years, I just built and scaled Five Doors. We went from about 700 transactions to 1,500 transactions in 12 months. We scaled up to 30 different markets really quick. And I was really responsible, similar to how you and I work now. Everything was Jen's problem. So I got to deal with a lot of challenges. And from that, I think that the experience for a lot of people is that we operate in this industry based on what happened to us versus a bigger collection of what happens to everybody. And once I had my team experience, the gift of expansion showed me first and foremost what it was like in all these different cities, in all the different real estate businesses. So it really no longer became my perspective anymore. It became the perspective of so many people. And when you're moving that fast, you're just effing stuff up all the time, and you're watching everybody else mess it up too. So eventually you start to figure out what works, because this is sales, and in the industry there's only so many different ways you can skin the cat. So I guess fast forward that, yeah.
I want to pause you right there too,
Yeah.
because just so like the viewers can actually understand, when you just glance over 750 transactions to 1,500, like what the doubling the business in 12 months, what is that? What were you guys doing volume wise? Like, what is that? Do you have any idea what that equated to?
Yeah, I think at the end it ended up, I don't remember exactly. I want to say somewhere between like 500 and 700.
Yeah.
It's been like a bunch of years.
Yeah.
I don't like to say things when I don't know the exact number, but yeah, it was right
We'll make
around
Andy cut that
there.
out of the.
We can cut that out. But yeah, it fell in that range.
Bajillion dollars.
Maybe
yeah.
it was like 700 and something, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I need to look back, but it was
cranking.
definitely up there.
And anybody too that's experienced growth like that, even if you've gone from 10 transactions to 20, you feel the stress in the system. So like that was, I don't want to say your problem, but that was your problem.
Yeah.
That you had this all.
Yeah. And it was doing it in different markets and doing it with different people. Now I'm thinking to myself, what was the volume? 1,500 times 3. So I was trying to figure out what yeah, it might be the 5-ish. We'll get there. We'll cut that part out. But yeah, it was really about learning how to make what doesn't work.
Yep.
A lot of what I do, just even with us now day to day, I think one of the differentiations for most people in the industry is that everybody wants to apply a minimal amount of effort, and then they want an extraordinary output. And the moment they apply effort, if they don't see what they want to see, then it's on to the next one. What's the next shiny penny? Where do I pour my money into now? Who's the magic pill? What's my next coach? Who's the next mentor? And a lot of it is just really being able to stay in the stability of working through what doesn't work until you can actually figure it out. And then you can hum. And then you can go break something else and you can figure it out and you can go hum. And just most people don't have the tolerance for business building in the industry. And I think that's what really hurts them. So from that point, learning all those different lessons in business, I went and partnered with Kent Clothier for a year and scaled a prop tech startup that we were working on in the off-market space. So built out an off-market auction platform.
Nice.
Yes, that was fun. And then we lost our angel investor the week of launch. And then there went
Not
that.
as much
not as
fun.
much fun. So again, just like a ton of lessons. And I came out of that and I was just in the land of lessons. You know, I'd scaled my team, I'd scaled expansion. We saw what wasn't working anymore. I'd went to go launch the prop tech. You know, that was obviously burdened on the angel investor and all those different pieces. So then at that point, it was really, what am I going to do next? And a bunch of people were trying to hire me.
Yeah.
So I had all these job offers and I didn't want to work for anyone because I felt like I had not gotten where I wanted to go, trusting other people's vision and promises, right? That was the reality. So I figured, how am I going to do it myself? One young gentleman, his name was actually Breton Hess. So he's a big investor in our local market now, but he was young then and just building his business. He just looked at me one day and he said, "You would be an incredible consultant."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what's that?" Like, what would I do as a consultant? I really didn't know. And he's like, "Well, you're already kind of helping me. You can help me build my business. You can help me build out this coaching model I'm growing, and we can build business structures and you can kind of coach me through it." And I said, "Okay." So I really started by just someone bringing up this alternative version to me of what I could do and how I could work with multiple people. So in 2020, I launched Manifest and partnered with EXP. And I really began that whole journey of coaching and consulting and partnering with these large teams throughout the country to help them really systematize their business. So I did that. And that's how you and I got together. I was high volume coaching for about 2.5 years. When I started, I told myself, if I can get 5 people to believe in me and just make $10,000 a month, I've made like the epitome of excellence as a coach. I'm like, I got this. Like, that was just really my dream at first. I didn't know if anyone else was going to believe in what I knew at this point was going to work or not work. So we went on that journey. Obviously, I very, very quickly expanded past that. I averaged about 40 one-on-one clients that I held during the time that I was in that high volume world. And what came out of it is I realized that I could tell people what to do all day long, yet if I can't execute on it, I'm relying on other people.
Yep.
And that didn't feel amazing to me because a lot of people maybe coach for reasons other than the reason I was doing it. But I really started going at it because so many people asked for my help and I needed a way to help as many people as possible and obviously have a monetization factor in exchange for that, right?
Yep.
Instead of one job, I took 40 jobs. And that's just sometimes too much. So in my passion for really knowing that I believed in what I could do and what I could build and just wanting to get my hands on things a little bit more, the same challenge kind of came up to you and I in the relationship where you were like, "Hey, Jen, all this is great, but I need to be able to like execute it into my world. And I don't have anybody who's actually being able to take your brain and take it deep enough for us to get what we want." And at that time, I was like, well, I don't want to keep working with all the people I'm working with. So maybe I can pare down what I'm doing and you and I can focus on building here and some of my other. I really went more into a fractional COO role
Right.
with a handful of people across the country instead of spending 30 minutes with 40 people once a week.
Yeah.
So that's kind of brought us to here.
And I remember when we brought you into the ops side of things, and I'll also say, watch the tapping and stuff.
Oh,
on the
sorry.
table.
Uh-huh.
It'll pick it up. But
Uh-huh.
when we brought you into the ops side of things, it was, I want to say, I mean, look, we always use you on the coaching side of things, but we actually, we had to part ways with somebody, and then you came in, and I think I remember you saying like, well, I'll give it to like June. And then I remember June came around. I'm like, you still want to do it? And you're like, yeah, kind of like it. And I was like, okay, great. And then since then, we've really like kind of evolved in the way that we've been doing things. I feel like we have a lot of really good traction, a lot of really good culture within the team. But really, like what you brought up, the whole idea of Align came about, which finally rebranded last fall. But the whole idea of Align came out. It was out of necessity. It was out of pain points that I was feeling within my own organization. And when we were working together, we were at a decent amount of scale, more so than a lot of other teams are. So I knew that we had more folks on staff to kind of handle the things that had to happen within the organization. But then I really think that, our purpose and what I was all about and how it all tied together was really being a home that could house agents to thrive, that could house employees to thrive and bring in teams and just really like create that bigger picture. And for me, it's about that. It's about the oneness. It's about everybody playing together and collaborating. And that's why like, we just had a great meeting in the office before this where it's a fun person that I feel like it would be really fun to work with. So, with that, what's your vision with Align? I know I definitely have mine, but what do you see? I mean, what do you see happening?
Yeah. Well, so, just kind of speaking to what you're bringing up. When you and I first started, I think the goal was really to get what was then Sakura Group, now Align, into a place where we felt that that could really get you to the next level of your goals within the real estate team. And as we started to do that and we started to see things work, it was very quickly noticed by both of us that it's like, hey, we can do this. And if we can do this here, we can go help a lot of people that are going through a lot of pain and they just don't need to be because they're missing what we figured out how to do.
Right.
And from everything up until this point, right, it's like all exciting, great. We did all these amazing things. Nothing I did up to this point matters except for the fact that it allowed me and you, because you've done a lot up to this point too, to finally get how to serve agents the way they want to be served.
Right.
And me personally and you and both our real estate teams, and just in the way the business treats us and what's available, there really isn't a mechanism that can solve the agent's problem where they don't have to have the responsibility of execution put back on their shoulders. And my passion has always been in everything I've done, working, building businesses, coaching, consulting, is like, how do we actually use systems? How do we use leverage and people so that you can stay in your strengths and everything else can happen for you?
Right.
And so the whole vision of Align is being able to kind of disintermediate what's happening in the industry right now, where there's a whole lot of what and agents not having the ability to do the how. Because if you're an incredible real estate agent or you're even an incredible business owner, you're not an incredible systems builder. You're not the one who's going to be weedy in the CRM. You're not going to be building out structures for your data and your scoreboards. And when you start doing those things, then you stop selling and you stop leading and you stop growing. And then there's still not a win again.
Right.
So we're really in a line. My passion has been to create that ecosystem where people can not get stuck, right? They can run their run and then they can go, and I'm like, okay, I'm a $20 million producer and now I want to be a $50 million team. I'm a $50 million team, now I want to be a $150 million team. And just give people the structures to know what works and let them choose what they're willing to do,
Yeah.
but pick one of the things that we know is going to work and just take the guesswork and the creativity out of it.
Right.
So I think overall it's just being able to champion people into the highest and best use of themselves and really leading that. You and I both went on these huge journeys of like inside out, like not letting the industry burn us, not putting everything except for ourselves first, and being able to build a community of people who are like that, who want to be able to build business, who wants to be able to invest, expand themselves, and just have the answers that we need to go do more of what we desire. And that's where we get lost, I think, a lot.
Yeah, and I feel like too, I mean, one of the nice things, whether you're a producing agent, like my journey as an agent that first came into the business, started doing well. I broke off from a team, then I had to hire my own admin, then I had to fire that admin, then I had to hire another one, then I had to fire that one while I'm trying to train them, train agents, sell 45 homes a year. Like the whole, it's like the chaos chart that everybody like, oh, this is what growth actually looks like. It's so much easier. Like if I'm looking back at this and I feel like really what my purpose with Align and how the whole thing came about, it's how have we built that ecosystem that if I wanted to go sell 100 homes a year or 200 homes a year, whatever my goal may be as an agent, regardless of, or 5 homes a year, whatever the goal may be, that it just makes it easy. And I feel like a lot of people, like where you work really well with me, is I'm not as good at holding staff members accountable around certain things. I'm a little more like loosey goosey. You're not. So it's a good thing. It's like a good yin and yang. I can hold an agent a little more accountable. Like that salespeople, I work well with that. You obviously work well with that too.
Yeah. But
But
you're a
point,
man of the people.
but I know,
I'm a
yeah,
woman of the
I like
systems.
everybody's always like, where's your office? I'm like, it's on the couch in the middle. I
Right.
don't have my own office. I let them, I want to be out on the floor. I want to feel it. I want to experience it. But yeah, you're really like the true Wizard of Oz behind there, keeping the, gluing everything together and holding it together. Another thing that I think is really interesting too, and knock on wood, although I'm not supposed to knock on the table. I don't feel like we can break right now. Like I truly don't feel, and we're recording this with, I don't know, this is, we're early February with about 30 million closed, another 50 million pending. And we're that, 200% year over year growth. We're like trending for that right now.
We're number 8 in the country currently.
Currently, and we're not happy with it.
Yes, because we will be at number 1 in no time.
But with that, we're I'm looking at that and I'm just like, I actually feel like we're set up to handle a lot right now. And I mean, we went through a lot of like building, breaking things. Like we broke a lot of things, but I truly, like you said, it's break it and rebuild it. I don't feel like we can break right now. I feel like we have all the right pieces. And I think that that's really where we've put all of our energy into each department, which we're gonna do another podcast and break down like what those kind of look like and how much love goes into those. But that's the problem. Like when I was coaching with Matthew Ferry one-on-one, he would look at your life. It was a life coach. He'd look at your life as, and it's like, where's your personal health? Where's your finances? Where's your retirement? How's your business performing? How's your marriage? How's your relationship with your kids? And you'd rank yourself from 1 to 10 in all of those. And I feel like we're at the point where if you look at our business that way, it's everything is very healthy and very balanced out so that we can really hit that accelerator and not feel it.
A solid 7 at least everywhere, which is the first goal. Brett says 8s, 9s, 10s.
I was to say 9 or 10.
Right, exactly. So at least that's what makes us us.
Well, you know, what's funny is I probably don't, it doesn't get back to me when things
Yeah.
are like breaking and stuff like that. So it just feels like it's, you mentioned humming. It feels like it's humming along right now. It feels really good. And we're in that interesting market too. So it's good to be in a market where people are dealing with atrophy and losing agents, and agents aren't having their best years ever. And we're having people thrive. We're having, you know, Monique Belgrave did 10 million her first year as a realtor and was only licensed for 9 of the months.
Yeah.
So
That has probably been one of the most exciting things for us over the last 12 months of while we're in the weeds and building the stability and have the foundations, those solid 7s. I'm a big fan of under promising and over delivering. So I rather tell you it's a 7 and you feel a 10 than tell you it's a 10 and you feel a 4. And at the end of the day, what we've done in all of this is we have really incredible producing, happy real estate agents and teams in a market where most people tanked 30 to 70%. And it was actually the first year in my entire career in real estate team that all of our agents hit their goals for the year. That had just never happened. And that was a really big combination of getting people to realistic goals
yeah,
because that's one of the biggest challenges, and the amount of conversations around the mindset and understanding their numbers and really going through it consistently that got us to be able to achieve that. And a lot of what we've built and plugged into and align to allow us to run the plays and not have to have agents figure out what to do.
right.
And when they don't have to think about what to do and you can show them how to get what they want as fast as possible, there's an intrinsic energy that gets built in people winning, and then more people want to win. So that's where you and I are. And just now, how do we continue to partner with more people in a line who truly want to stay in their strengths, be in high energy, have a positive mindset about the market? It doesn't matter what condition the market's in. We're going to shift the way we sell real estate. We've shifted it probably 6 times, even in the last 3.5 years. It's all about it being able to like iterate yourself. So where are we and how do we educate our agents, which is a big part of what we're pouring into. A huge part of the Align platform is just the education and the resource so people don't have the time to think about what's wrong. We're constantly working through the talk tracks. We're constantly showing them how to discuss whatever's going on in the market, the interest rates, any of the objections. And so not leaving people in their own thoughts is really a big part of the thought leadership that we've provided, and then the results around us. Whether it's a new agent coming in, like you just mentioned, or an agent who wanted to be able to start growing their team and was able to succeed in that. You know, I have an agent who had a part-time job in the beginning of last year who came to us. She has 11 pending right now.
Yep.
So it's all sorts of different examples like that, where when people are able to plug in and win, it just feels good for us and it makes it all worth it. But now we're ready to do it at a grander scale.
Yeah. And I feel like when we were, like I love living in that, the mindset of that agent. I remember when I spoke in San Diego with Kyle Whistler and you were at that event, I wanted to focus on my struggles between like 2007 and 2013, because that was when myself as an agent, I was 21 years old. I didn't know what to do. I was freaking out. I had anxiety, believe it or not. And it was
Now
just,
I take your anxiety for you, Brett.
yeah, now you, yeah. I was telling somebody earlier, I'm emotionless. They're like, that doesn't sound good. I'm like, no, I just mean I'm not phased by
Yeah.
like a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
So, but, but, you know, with that, living in that mindset and having empathy towards the brand new agents that are coming through, and we make sure that they have everything that they need to feel super confident. Where like we had a closing earlier today at this table. It was over $1 million, and it was the realtor's first deal. And she was handling herself like an absolute pro. The consumer definitely doesn't know that that's their first transaction. My first transaction was like $180,000 in Dover, which is right over here. But yeah, she went in and she killed it and she crushed it. And it's because of, you know, what you're doing, what we're doing, and making sure that they know the answers. They have, like, we will tell them anything they need to know to be that, you know, $40 million producer in their client's eyes.
Yeah. we want everybody to win. We
Yeah.
don't want to show people how we're winning. We want everyone else to be winning, and we want the intrinsic development of everyone to be able to just create that community because they want more of it around them.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
that's really the fun part of being able to build the structures of a line because you have to meet willingness with the human being. And if we just had one structure and said, this is, which is some of the other big coaching platforms we won't mention, but a lot of them are, this is the one way and it's the one way only. And you'd either do it this way or you're not going to win.
Right.
And I think we get that the human is not the same in all situations. And I am proud of the fact that when people plug into us, they do feel like they can go in the direction that they need to meet them where they're at. Doesn't matter what it is. If they want to be an investor, if they want to be a luxury agent, if they want to focus on buyers, if they want to focus on sellers, if they have a passion to be able to help others and mentor and grow and come into that, they have a path. So that has been a really cool thing for me because we've been able to keep so many people in our world and we've been able to bring so many people in the world because we're not solving one box and it's not square peg round hole. It's what's your shape and let me guide you to where it fits.
Yeah.
And that's where I get the energy. And it's really exciting to know that we can really create this for people, and make their dreams come true because then our dreams get to come true in return.
Yeah. No, totally, totally. And that's like one of the things that we're doing right now. And we're taking a deep dive tomorrow on what does the national expansion look like? How do we get more agents into our world? I had an agent reach out to me last week and they're like, hey, if I joined a line, would I be an individual agent or would I be a part of your team? And I was like, you can kind of put that and empower yourself in however you want to be. If you want to feel like you're an individual as a part of something bigger, you can be yourself. You can do whatever, not whatever you want to do, but you can do a lot of in this box sort of things. And then, if you really want the love and care and feel like you're full blown and insanely held accountable Navy SEAL, whatever it may be, we can cater to that. So definitely something I'm excited for. And then also, like I mentioned, we're going to be blowing this thing up. So that's fun to see. Maybe we'll break something then.
We're gonna break it, but we're gonna build it right back up
Yeah.
because if we're not building it and breaking it, it means we're not moving fast enough. I think one of the things, just to what you're saying though, from an agent's mindset, is that there's one of two things somebody's seeking. They're either seeking autonomy or accountability,
Right.
right? And if they're in the mindset of autonomy, there's no team that's ever going to fit the structure of their mind and what they think that they want for themselves. And so, where a lot of agents really get lost is because they have that desire for autonomy. And with that, they also don't know exactly what to do. So, they're autonomously leading themselves nowhere.
Right.
And then, when you want the accountability, that team structure, the Navy SEALs, like what we talk about, is there for you. But knowing that whether you want to be autonomous or whether you want to be accountable, we still have the four walls for you to function in and know which direction to go. I think that is one of the biggest difference makers because most people just don't fix that messy middle.
Right.
And I think a line is really there to help elevate everybody into not getting lost and just supporting the industry at a higher level. It's painful to hear that last year we went from the average agent now only does 3 transactions a year. And our standards in a line is every agent should be closing one deal or more a month.
Right.
And proudly, we really have been able to create structures that prove that that's possible. And who doesn't want that in their business and their life? So
Yeah, no,
that's where we're at.
100%. And that's really like, to kind of close this whole thing up. That's what we look for. We want every agent. $100,000 seems to be kind of what the realtor's like. I want to make 100 grand. So we put that as the benchmark. That's the one sale per year based on our average price point. That's really what we want. We want consistent income for the realtors. We don't want to have the ebbs and flows. When we're working with the spreadsheet, we can see when you're logging into Follow Up Boss, which is our CRM. Like we want to know well before you know that you're going to fall off so that we can start guiding you back in and making sure that your income is as smooth and predictable as possible for you and your family.
Yeah, it's teaching you to be a real estate business owner, whether you're somebody who wants to close 12 transactions a year or whether you want to close 1,200. It doesn't matter. And, you and I have the passion to just really serve people. So I think, again, whether it's a $150 million team we're partnering with and collaborating with, or it's an agent who's coming to us just trying to hit a $5 million stride, again, just passionate about helping them because you don't know what that agent who hasn't yet seen their potential becomes. They could be the next Brett, they could be the next Jen. And we don't want anyone to feel like they can't be a part of or they don't have their unfair share of what's available because maybe they're not something yet. The inclusion, I think, is really important to us. It's very important to me. I've had many times in my career and times in this industry where I felt like that is not how I was treated.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want anyone to ever feel like that, because everybody should get the opportunity to drive towards their possibility. Now, does everyone show up? No. Yet, do they deserve a chance? 100%. And a lot of times, the question is just tell me what to do.
Right.
Even with my coaching, the larger the team, the more famous the individual, the more that they did, the bigger the business is. You just get on a call with them and they're like, Jen, just tell me what to do. So it's just a whole lot of telling people what to do so that they can get what they want. And when it works, it works.
Yeah.
They just have to work.
It's well, you and I, we were on a Zoom with somebody too, and I was like, I just do what Jen tells me to do. Like I think that's, and it's funny that the bigger the person or the bigger that you're work, the more they
The
realize that
more they know.
it's like, professional golfers, whatever it means, like they're working with a coach, bodybuilders, whoever it may be, they're working with a coach that's telling them what to do, and they
Yeah.
just do it. And I think that if you dumb that down to the agents as well, it's like a lot of people, they have egos, they think that they know how they should be doing it regardless of how many homes they're selling, and at the end of the day, you just have to push it aside and dumb it down and just move.
It's perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's not that I know everything and no one knows what to do and listen to me and all the things under the rainbow. It's just being able to experience as much as I've experienced. You just start to figure out that there's 10 ways to skin the cat. So here's the 10 ways. You just have to choose one. We're not out here to pick the 11th and the 12th. And that's the gap for a lot of people. So again, just being able to drive them in what to do, knowing that these are what people who have walked before them have done, I think is one of the things I'm very passionate about. I'm also really passionate about helping people not be delusional. And many, many real estate agents and even real estate team owners who are trying to drive results out of agents don't have a realistic perspective. One of my favorite analogies to use around this is that nobody's running faster than the fastest mile's ever been run. So I don't know what it is, but let's say that the fastest mile still is at about 4 minutes. And if there's a 4 minute mile and you're showing up every day and you're attempting to run the mile in 2 minutes, AKA making 3 phone calls when you need to make 13 phone calls, and you show up every day, you're going to keep running blank, right?
Right.
And so a lot of it is just realizing that there is actually a certain amount of effort that has to be applied to anything. And when people can just start to even understand, like, hey, there's like a baseline here for me in which I have to perform or not perform to do the best in the world has not done better than this, you're not going to beat the best in the world. Most people aren't beating the best. So you're not going to be able to get yourself where you want to go until you could at least baseline wherever that benchmark is. And again, the language of sales is numbers, the language of leadership is numbers. So people can pretend this is a mind game, a creativity game. Oh, how cool is my next reel, or what's my next post going to say? But at the end of the day, there is different ratios depending on how good you are and what you're attempting that's going to take effort to outcome. And that's just the evidence that we're passionate about helping people understand. Because when they realize that there's no 2 minute mile out there, they can either decide to do the work or pick another career. And I'm happy with both.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up the mile too. And then this is what I'm going to end with. Our good buddy, Brian Spooner, who's part of our family here at EXP, Olympic, or no, he never made it to the Olympics, college runner, and a bunch of state records and everything like that. He ran a 4:02 mile. It's his fastest mile ever. And when I said to him was, why didn't you just break 4 minutes? And he was like, dude, F you. Like that was all I wanted. And it was just 2 seconds off of that. And you don't understand how elite that world is under
Right.
4. But point being is yeah, he is an absolute top performer from when he was there. And that's all I say to him in the real estate business when he's talking about prospecting, cold calling, anything. I just go 4 minute mile.
That's it.
4 minute mile. You
Same
have the
combo.
mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, I really appreciate you tuning
Thank
in.
you.
Thank you for meeting Miss Jen Schiff, the Queen Jen Schiff.
Jen the Queen Chef.
Jen the
Thank
Queen
you
Schiff.
guys.
Thank you.